Now these holes do only line up a certain way. I put the first one in, worked the gears with a little pry bar to the second one. It didn't line up, so I brought it back to the first one, took that out, advanced the flywheel here to the next hole, put that one in, and the second one did line up on that time, but the third and fourth didn't line up. So I had to take those two out that I had, advance the flywheel a little more, start all over, and the third time all 4 sets of holes lined up. So now these are just loose on. I'm going to start to torque them. I guess I'll go to about 30, and then when I get it to 30, then I'll go 40, then or 45, then 65. I ended up taking an 18mm wrench, supporting it with a jack to keep the wheel from turning, so I can tighten up the nuts. I first, in a crisscross pattern, do 30 pounds, then the same pattern 45, and then the 65 final torque. And with these nuts in place, it's easy to move this gear around with your 18mm wrench. So I put the dust cover back on, then put the structural collar up here, finger tight all 4 bolts, then brought the 2 to the oil pan to 30 pounds, brought the 2 to the transaxle to 80, then back to these, brought them up to 40. And once you got that on top of there, make sure the notch in the lower ball joint stud is lined up with the path of the bolt, and then just work it in place. And in putting this lower ball joint back on, you have to make sure that it doesn't go further down, restricting, because that groove in the pin is higher than it'll actually completely go down. So don't bring this all the way down onto it, just far enough so it's not, the passage is not being blocked at all. And when you're reconnecting the rack and pinion, the outer tie rod end, if the shaft starts turning with turning the bolt, just hold it to one side or the other while you're turning until it gets tight enough and it holds on to itself. And I've got a couple grease certs, one here, one under the lower ball joint. This one's broken off, so I'll just take that out and put a new one on, because it, as you can see on this one, it's still got where you put the wrench on. And if you absolutely have to, grab it to keep it from spinning with a vice grip. Grab it up here where there aren't threads for you to wreck for the bolt underneath. Alright, now down here by the driver's side drive axle, look at this little rubber plug. Pull that plug out, fill the fluid, but don't fill it all the way to the bottom of the fill hole, or you'll blow some seals. Keep it about 3/16 lower than that hole. It's just being very careful and checking the fluid, and if you have to drain a little bit out the drain, it's better to do that than blow seals and replace the transmission after you finish doing this. For this plug, I ended up sliding in with a screwdriver, angling it in, and then popping it out. I tried grabbing it and pulling, but it would not budge. It just ripped that chunk of ear off, so I got it. And as you're hooking up your throttle cables, be sure and run them under this bundle of electrical wires to help keep them away from. Okay, for this linkage, I grabbed some washers, drilled the first one a little larger than 1/4 inch, put it on the bottom, drilled the second one 1/4 inch. I filled in the gap with JB Weld, put the second washer on top, slid that 1/4 inch piece on to hold it in place. So that's how I replaced the all plastic one that's supposed to be in there.